Good morning, and welcome to Barbara's Bulletin. I'm your host, Barbara, and we're glad you're joining us today for a comprehensive look at the latest news from around the world. To start off, let's turn our attention to Germany, where a significant development has unfolded in the country's political landscape. Germany's domestic spy agency, the BfV, has temporarily paused its classification of the Alternative for Germany Party, or AfD, as an extremist organization. This decision comes after the AfD challenged the designation in court, arguing that it was a politically motivated attempt to discredit and criminalize the party. The pause on the classification means that the BfV will not publicly refer to the AfD as a confirmed right-wing extremist movement until an administrative court in Cologne has ruled on the AfD's bid for an injunction. Additionally, measures associated with the classification, such as stepped-up monitoring and recruiting informants, will also be suspended. The AfD's leadership has welcomed this decision, seeing it as a first step towards exoneration from accusations of right-wing extremism. However, it's essential to note that the BfV's pause on the classification does not necessarily mean a revision of their assessment of the party. The agency's 100-page experts report, which remains confidential, had found the AfD to be a racist and anti-Muslim organization. This development has sparked reactions both within Germany and internationally. Some lawmakers have called for the AfD to be banned, while others, including U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio, have criticized the German authorities' decision, arguing that it attacks democracy. It's crucial to approach this story with a balanced perspective, recognizing the complexities of political classifications and their implications on democratic processes. The role of intelligence agencies in monitoring political parties is a delicate matter, requiring careful consideration of national security, civil liberties, and the principles of democracy. As we continue to follow this story, it will be important to watch how the court proceedings unfold, and how this decision affects Germany's political landscape. The international community's reaction will also be worth observing, especially in terms of how different countries navigate the fine line between combating extremism and preserving democratic freedoms. We'll be right back with more of today's top news on Barbara's Bulletin. Welcome back to Barbara's Bulletin. I'm your host, Barbara, and we're diving into the second segment of today's show. We've got a complex and developing story coming out of the Middle East, where a ceasefire deal between the U.S. and Houthi militia in Yemen has raised hopes for stranded seafarers. According to reports, over 200 seafarers on more than 15 ships have been stuck off the port of Ras Al-Sefa for weeks, waiting to offload cargo and leave. The situation has been precarious, with threats from the Houthis and the risk of collateral damage from U.S. airstrikes. However, with the ceasefire deal in place, some ships are now preparing to enter the port and discharge their cargo. It's worth noting that while this development is a positive step, the situation remains uncertain. The Houthis have confirmed that Israeli-related assets remain open to attack, which could still pose a risk to shipping in the region. In fact, some shipping companies have halted voyages through the Red Sea until they can be sure that their crews will be safe. We've spoken to maritime officials and labor union representatives who are working to support the stranded seafarers and ensure their safe passage home. The International Transport Workers Federation has called for more than just words, but concrete actions to guarantee the safety of these crew members. As we continue to monitor this situation, it's clear that the ceasefire deal is a step in the right direction, but there's still much work to be done to ensure the safe passage of ships and crew through the region. We'll keep following this story and bring you updates as more information becomes available. For now, let's take a brief pause before moving on to our final story of the day. Stay tuned for our final story of the day, right here on Barbara's Bulletin. Welcome back to Barbara's Bulletin. As we wrap up today's show, I'd like to bring your attention to a developing story in the Middle East. The Israeli-Palestinian conflict has taken a turn with Israel's recent plan to evacuate Gaza, which has been met with widespread condemnation from the international community. According to reports, Norway and Iceland have joined other Western European nations in denouncing Israel's plans, stating that it would amount to illegal forceful displacement of the Palestinian people. The Norwegian Foreign Minister, Espen Barth Eide, expressed concerns that such a move would undermine efforts to create a Palestinian state and lead to more bloodshed. The situation in Gaza is complex and multifaceted, with both sides having legitimate concerns and grievances. Hamas's attack on southern Israel last October resulted in the loss of over 1,200 lives, mostly civilians, and the subsequent Israeli offensive has killed at least 52,000 people in Gaza, mostly civilians as well. As the international community grapples with finding a solution to this conflict, it's essential to prioritize humanitarian aid and the protection of civilians. The U.S. has reportedly discussed leading a temporary post-war administration of Gaza, but experts caution that such an approach may not be effective, citing the example of Iraq after the 2003 war. It's crucial for all parties involved to engage in constructive dialogue and work towards a peaceful resolution that respects the rights and dignity of both Israelis and Palestinians. As we continue to follow this story, we'll provide updates and insights to help you stay informed. That's all for today's Barbara's Bulletin. Remember to like, share, and subscribe, and until next time, stay engaged.